almost said crab cakes. The number of times that I almost say crab cakes in this video is a lot. Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're making sardine fish cakes. I've been wanting crab cakes for a very long time, and I'm hoping that these kind of hit that spot. It does have Old Bay in it, so there is hope. So the recipe that we're doing today is kind of split into two parts, similar to what we did last week, where there is going to be a fish cake part and then there's going to be a sauce part. So when I run through the ingredients, I'm going to do the fish cake first and then I'm going to do the sauce second. 2 tins of sardines, whole milk yogurt, breadcrumbs, thyme, Old Bay, and an egg. Next, the spicy yogurt sauce, whole milk yogurt, Dijon mustard, capers and the brine, Worcestershire sauce. I'm not going to do it again. There's just, you know what it is, get that. Cayenne and salt. The first step is going to be to take all of the fish cake ingredients, put them in a bowl and just gently stir them up. Very similar to like the first recipe that we did, the sardine salad, as opposed to last week where we kind of blended it all up, made it a very smooth paste. So we kind of want it to be incorporated but have characteristics and like you can tell-ish what ingredients are in there. I will say only one of the sardine tins should have oil, so you need to drain the other one. But for the oil, it's supposed to be chili infused, and I couldn't find any of that, like 3 different stores that I went to. But the recipe does kind of state that you can use red chili flakes if you can't find it. So I guess it's probably a more common issue than just me. So red chili flakes are gonna go in. If that's too spicy, because obviously this is adding spice to the dish, I'll let you know kind of when I do the taste test. I'm not a huge fan of spice, so you can kind of do with that what you will, kind of gauge my reaction to know, like if you don't like spice either, maybe do less or none, or if you like spice and I'm like, I don't really feel anything, you can do more. I've given you now a scale, you can do with that what you will. The next step is we're going to now form the fish cakes into a fish cake shape. The recipe says, I think, like to form them into balls and then kind of like flatten them out in your hands. But I was like, hold on. I bought these cookie cutter tins. I can't remember why or when. Oh, it was for the donuts. It was for the donuts. And so these are nice little circles. So I'm just gonna use a 4-inch one of these, or roughly whatever size that I feel like is the best. The recipe says that you can do 2-inch kind of fish cakes or 4-inch, depending on if you want it as more of like a side or a main course. So I'm having this for dinner, so we're gonna go main course. And also, you want to use a rimmed baking sheet or cast iron or something with edges to it, because there's a lot of oil in these fish, plus the oil that obviously we added from the tin itself. So when you're cooking them later, oil is going to come out. And if you don't have a rim on whatever you're cooking them on, your oven is now going to be very messy. So put a rim on it, you should be good to go. And then after we form them, put them in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Now, while the fish cakes are chilling in the refrigerator, we're going to make the sauce that's gonna go on top when we serve it. And this is gonna be very similar to making of the sardine cakes. You just put all the ingredients into a bowl, mix it up, you're good to go. All right, so we've waited 30 minutes. Time to kind of prep the oven by moving the oven rack to kind of like the top end of the oven. I can't remember the exact distance, but I'll have it in text for you, and I'll have to go check my notes for me. And we're going to broil for 5 minutes, flip, and then 5 more minutes. And the goal is like a dark golden brown. All right, so here we have it. I made a little smiley face on mine because it's happy to be eaten. And I'm pretty excited to try it. You probably saw in the first flip, it was not looking goldeny brown and crispy on top. So I actually did another round. So I did 5 minutes, flipped 5 minutes, and then I flipped it and then did 2 minutes just to kind of get that first side facing the broiler kind of nice and crispy. But beyond that, kind of followed everything to the letter, and I'm excited to give these a go. Not as much oil as I was expecting, but I would still say use a like rimmed baking sheet because it's a lot easier to clean the sheet off than it is to clean out your oven. So better safe than sorry. But why don't we give these a taste, and then I can ramble at you some more about what I think. Ooh, I'm pretty happy with that. I think we need another taste test. So I'm pleased to inform you that we're back on kind of like the right track with sardines being good, because I was a little worried after last week. The sardine balls, like the miso soup was good. Sardine balls, the texture, not so great. But you know, the week before we had a winner with the sardine salad. So I'm pleased to say that we got another winner here. I was a little bit worried about the texture with that first initial, but you know, broiling it again, fix that. It definitely has crab cake texture. It doesn't have quite the exact same like crab cake taste because sardines are definitely a lot more fishy than crab cakes or like crabs would be. And I, don't want to play favorites or anything, but the Old Bay ain't hurting. If anything, it's, a strong component of this. It definitely has, I don't know what would fill this gap, but like it feels like there's some kind of gap in there because it has that spice, and I don't know, like I feel like it needs something to be on like the other side of that spice, because Old Bay kind of has a little bit of spice. It's kind of like spicy and salty, which aren't bad things, but like I feel like they just need to be rounded with something else. And so the spice levels, I would say you definitely kind of feel it, at least for me, I feel it, but it's not overpowering. Like you kind of like have like a second of like, ooh, a little bit of sweat, and then you're kind of back to normal. It's a spice that I can handle, so I'm happy with that. So I wouldn't change the recipe if I made this again beyond trying to find that thing that will kind of round this out. A grievance I do have is this recipe claimed that it would make like 15 like 2-inch ones, which I guess for a radius the math changes because like when you whatever. But for the 4 inches, it should have made like I think 5 or so is what the recipe says. I'm not 100%, but it definitely says more than 3, which is what I have, and I'm pretty sure these are about 4 inches. So I don't know, maybe they're bigger, maybe they're thicker, something's up, but I only got 3, and I thought I was gonna have a lot more. Which then leads me into the final point, is leftovers. So these things can keep in the refrigerator for like 2 days, but they apparently are good for like freezing off, and I think it says like 2 or 3 months that it can kind of keep in the freezer. So this would be an interesting kind of like meal prep. Like you make a bunch of it, you kind of form them, because you form them, you cook them, and then you let them cool, and then like individually wrap and then put them in the freezer. And so that would be interesting for days when I don't feel like cooking, just like pulling out some of these sardine cakes and then popping them. It does say in the oven, but I feel like I would try putting them in a cast iron skillet on the stovetop. But that's just me not wanting to use a whole oven space. But I don't know, maybe the oven would be more efficient. We'll see. So these would be good for kind of that, like you can kind of like do like meal prep, make ahead, let them be there when you need them. And yeah, so I'd say this is a good recipe, give it a go. Obviously you need to like fish because it's very fishy, but if you do like fish and you like a little bit, just a little bit of spice, I think this might be the recipe for you. And on that note, bye mom, still not dead. See you.